Welcome back and thank you for staying with the broadcast. Attorney Mary Francis says comments by Mayor Peterson Francis blasting human rights advocates for not speaking out about a police shooting was a veiled attack on her work. The coordinator of the National Center for Legal Aid and Human Rights Incorporated makes it clear that it is not her job as a human rights advocate to congratulate police when they do their job right. Mayor Peterson Francis was candid in calling out human rights advocates for only speaking out about alleged police abuses and not crimes against police. His comments have drawn the ire of attorney and coordinator of the National Center for Legal Aid and Human Rights Incorporated, Mary Francis. She says while she admires the work of the mayor in the city, he is way off base on this matter.
I think it's unfortunate that a man of his capacity would actually make this statement, which, as I say, is a veiled attack. And I think it also is misplaced responsibility. It's not the responsibility of human rights persons to congratulate public servants, in this case the police, when they actually perform. It is their duty to protect human rights. They also are protectors of human rights. It's their duty to perform professionally, not unlawfully attacking citizens or causing them to lose their lives and so forth.
The attorney says there are so many misconceptions surrounding the role of human rights activists that it's hard to make inroads in addressing them.
The whole misconception, I do not know what must be done to clarify it. I shouldn't say so. I put it there. I think there needs to be more education out there in terms of the whole question of human rights law. Human rights law addresses the relationship between the state and citizens. That is the whole focus, the role of human rights law. And the whole question about when some individual kill another individual, where are the human rights people? It is not my duty, whilst I mean to say it is sad when persons go about killing one another and so forth. You have to be concerned as an individual. However, it is the duty of the state to protect and to ensure that crime is brought down.
Francis says the role of human rights advocates is not one that should be downplayed or ridiculed.
But when it comes to civil rights, I'm telling you, it is part of our constitution, the law of the land, the highest supreme law. And we must always make sure we get a copy, we understand that, and stop the misconception that the question that we are supporting criminals. We are supporting our constitution, and we are ensuring placing the responsibility where it's supposed to be on the government. We don't misplace it by putting it on human rights persons, as the mayor said, to be the one to speak out when police must perform professionally. There are standards for the police force. So if they break the standards, break the rules, they must be criticized.
Francis, in her capacity as a human rights advocate, has faced much criticism and backlash over the years, but she says she will continue to fight the good fight. Media veteran Harold George, was affectionately known as Georgie, passed away on Sunday after a brief illness. George began his media career as a technician at Windward Islands Broadcasting Service in 1969. His substantive years in media were spent at Radio St. Lucia. He retired in 2014. George's beloved brother, Jerry George, a former president of the Media Workers Association of St. Lucia, wrote this statement on his social media. It reads, "Our eldest brother, Harold John Michael, has died. Georgie, as everyone called him, transitioned Sunday morning after a victory through the valley of the shadow of death. We are happy he won the battle because he is now with the angels. Happy because so many of his RSL family and the media fraternity give him comfort through visits and words of concern and prayers of healing. Georgie worked in the media, RSL, and gave quietly and selflessly to this nation 50 years of unbroken and selfless service. But we are happy mostly because he left this earth knowing he was loved. We loved our brother and cherished his gentle and giving spirit. He was contented and shared with all the little he had in material possessions and his wisdom and himself, the special light he was. We will miss him. Travel happily to meet the mighty God you served in your own way, Georgie. Deepest sympathy to his devoted wife, Priscilla. Thank you to all who have sent messages of condolence." That was a statement by the brother of Harold George, Jerry George. In other news, Mayor Peterson Francis sought to clear the air after statements made by Castries South Representative Dr. Ernest Hilaire during the Labour Party's most recent town hall meeting. Francis says attempts made by Dr. Hilaire to malign his reputation will not go unanswered. At a press briefing held at the mayor's office on Monday, Mayor Francis cautioned Dr. Hilaire to tread lightly when targeting him. Solange Alfred reports.
The mayor of Castries, Peterson Francis, is perplexed at what he says is the reckless tactics of Castries South MP Dr. Ernest Hilaire. The mayor remains concerned about the insinuations regarding the management of funds belonging to the Castries Constituency Council. A town hall meeting held on Tuesday, 13th August, gave Dr. Hilaire the platform to voice his concerns over $6 million in savings in the Bank of St. Lucia, to which Francis responded to at a press conference held at his office.
When I came in, I found, or before I came in, CCC had $1 million at Bank of Nova Scotia. CCC had $1 million at Development Bank. Again, Mr. Hilaire waived that we had $6 million at NCB. $6 million. But as you say, it's the waiver, he's just waiving things. You know what they did? At that time, the overdraft was about $700,000. They made Development Bank pay off the $700,000. Took the $1 million from the Bank of Nova Scotia and put it at Development Bank. So we got a situation where Development Bank had $2 million to guarantee $700,000. But that was not the purpose of it. The 2 billion guaranteed $700,000, because what they wanted to do before the election would not been able to be done under the Nova Scotia. So when we saw all the paving of roads and all the activities that was taking place before the 2016 election, especially in Castries South, all the contracts was CCC through the Development Bank.
Additionally, the mayor would go on to provide information regarding the rehabilitation of a road network under the watchful eye of Dr. Hilaire.
The same Mr. Hilaire came to me, pleading to see if I could pay one of the contractors who supposedly had built a road in Marigot, and we had a balance of $45,000 for him, and to see what I could do as far as he was concerned. What I did, I tried for a while to get an engineer from infrastructure, which I eventually got. Went to the place the guy supposed to have built the road, and that guy drew $60-something thousand already. That was a balance of 45. All right? Okay? When the engineer went down there, I mean, not even Mongoose was able to use the place that they say the road was built. When he valued what the guy had done, did not worth $5,000. So in truth and in fact, the guy was owing CCC over $60,000.
Meanwhile, in a press release coming from the office of the mayor of Castries, it reads, quote, "History speaks all too well of Dr. Hilaire's tainted record with money and institution management during his controversial tenure as CEO of West Indies Cricket. St. Lucians are reminded that West Indies Cricket lost over $14 million in legal payouts, due primarily to Ernest Hilaire's failure to adhere to basic principles of natural justice and blatantly ignoring the law. Additionally, Dr. Hilaire is yet to account for monies to fund St. Lucia's Lost Diabetic Research Center, supposedly funded through his office of CEO of CIP St. Lucia by his dear comrade Mr. Jufali. The office of the mayor and Castries Constituency Council is very busy working hard to execute its important work program for the people of St. Lucia, and as such will no longer be distracted in responding to the reckless and callous agenda of Mr. Ernest Hilaire." End quote. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
The Labour Department has been called on yet again to step up efforts to protect the workers of the country. The call is being sounded in the aftermath of reports of a foreign employer refusing a local worker a water break. Horror stories that speak to exploitation in the workplace are all too common. So says CSA General Secretary Claude Paul. He blames the Labour Department and the government for dropping the ball when it comes to securing workers by ensuring that employers, foreign employers in particular, respect and adhere to the labour laws of St. Lucia. In the case of the Labour Department, Paul says there is clearly a void that is not being filled.
We have a situation where at least more than 50% of the workforce, maybe closer to 60% of the workforce remain ununionized, not represented by unions. And for me, that is a troubling situation. And so there's certainly an opportunity for representation to be had for persons, I think, in the retail sector, in the hotel sector in particular. And these are where we see the abuse is taking place. The Labour Department has this role of being a protector of maybe the unrepresented persons, or to be an arbiter in the case where there's dispute between parties. And certainly they have a more involved role to play. And I would like to see the Labour Department, the Labour officers going out into those places and being more proactive rather than waiting for complaints to come to them.
Paul highlights the significant role of government in ensuring the department has resources to do its important work. He also spoke on the need for proper orientation of foreign business people and investors who set up shop in St. Lucia.
Part of the education should be introduction to the labour laws. And the government must also say to persons who come here that they must respect the law of the land. And we must see some examples of government taking action in favor of upholding the laws of the land and discouraging that sort of attitude. Because sometimes it's not even that they don't know the law, it's their attitude to our laws. And so they must be told in no uncertain terms that they must follow. And we don't see enough of it coming out in the public. A lot of it is unknown. A lot of violations take place that don't come to light. We have seen cases where a hotel fired a number of persons who were trying to join a union at the time, as a matter of fact, trying to join the CSA, and there was no response, from the government of the day to that, or the Labour Department. I'm saying they are supposed to be that arbiter to ensure that there's that level of protection.
While pressure is being brought to bear on the Labour Department, the CSA General Secretary says he also understands the challenges and wants government to ensure that there are trained individuals in the various roles within the department.
They are under-resourced. Not enough labour officers to do the job. So, when you have a government the government in general, not necessarily the specific one, but government in general, needing to provide that protection for its workers and certainly encouraging representation for unions.
Paul says government also needs to lead by example, accusing it of being perhaps the biggest violator of worker rights as an employer, given the number of health and safety issues facing employees in government departments. The St. Lucia Fire Service Department over the weekend of Friday the 16th to Monday the 19th of August recorded a total of 94 ambulance calls. Leading firefighter Stacey Joseph provided details into the pressing emergencies that were responded to. She says multiple stabbing incidents were recorded in the 4-day period.
There were 5 stabbing and 5 motor vehicular incidents recorded. On Sunday, 18th August, the fire service responded to 3 stabbing incidents at Pigeon Point between the hours of 5 and 7 a.m. The individuals were transported in a stable condition to the Victoria Hospital. On Saturday, 17th August, at approximately 3:46 p.m., emergency personnel from the Mecoud Fire Station with assistance from the Dennery Fire Station and Crash Fire Hall responded to a motor vehicular incident at Monrepo, where a vehicle ran off the road. There were 5 occupants in the vehicle. However, 1 female appeared to have sustained minor injuries. 2 persons from that incident were transported in a stable condition to the St. Jude Hospital.
Joseph says of the 5 recorded stabbings, no one was fatally injured. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more news coming up after the break.